Welcome filmmakers, fans, and friends to Season 2 of Indie Cinema Showcase. I'm your host, John Theisen. Now, each episode, my co-host Tim Anderson and I will be here to bring you the best and brightest in local independent cinema.
Each show will highlight a specific aspect of independent filmmaking, be that an actual genre, the role of certain key crew members, or the various outlets and resources that filmmakers can utilize in their productions.
We will then discuss the ins and outs of these topics with our industry guests, while also spotlighting some Florida-made films that are great examples of the subject matter.
Today's show topic will be focused on film festivals and how learning the ins and outs of the festival circuit can aid filmmakers in marketing their respective films. Later in the program, we'll be joined by Florida Film Festival Selection Committee member Rich Grula to share his insights with us and maybe some tips too.
All right, gang, let's get things rolling with a very intriguing short film that asks the question, did the Apollo moon landing really happen? The film is entitled Shooting the Moon and was directed by 3 directors, Lenny Lenox, Gary Blake, and Adam Dinihanian. Sorry about butchering your name, Adam, but it's a great film. They're from Full Sail University, and we hope you enjoy.
I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal, before this decade is out, of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the earth.
000-908.
Now it is time to take longer strides. Time for a great new American enterprise. Time for this nation to take a clearly leading role in space achievement, which in many ways may hold the key to our future on Earth.
Eagle, Houston, we see you on the steerable, over. Roger, Eagle, conduct.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win. Thank you.
Liftoff on Apollo 11.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. Roger, how does it look? The Eagle has wings. Roger. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Cut! Let's get a ray foil. Hey, look, Theo, you did great. Okay, we lost pieces of the lander, so we're gonna get it reset. How you feeling?
How long till we get it? Because I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm burning up in this thing. It's hot.
I don't want to alarm you, but we've only got 10 minutes to get this shot.
Yeah, I can do 10 more minutes.
Great. All right, go take a break, and we'll call you when we're ready.
I need to talk to you.
What is it?
I think I messed up earlier with the schedule. We were supposed to get 20 shots done yesterday, but we only got 10 done. These papers got stuck together.
Lunar module interior? That's not happening.
Oh, God, it's my fault. I should have been on top of the art department. We can squeeze it in tomorrow after we shoot the black scene. But wait, we can do it today after the spacewalk.
Jen, relax. You're doing fine, okay? Which is more than I can say for the rest of this worthless crew.
While we're waiting, there's a man from NASA here named Nathan Myers.
Hold that thought.
Excuse me.
What's going on?
Just a couple of last-minute tweaks. You know, there really wasn't enough light on the front of that thing.
Get him home. You've got 5 minutes.
While we're waiting, you really need to talk to Nathan Myers.
Who's Nathan Myers?
He's from NASA, an advisor.
What's he advising?
Us?
Let's just get this over with. Where is he?
Right behind you.
Please, walk with me.
I don't have a lot of time.
I found several inconsistencies with your production.
Inconsistencies?
Yes, many. With your lights, your props, your scenery, virtually every department is riddled with
I'm sorry,
flaws.
what exactly is it that you're doing here?
My name is Nathan Myers, senior second-term member of the National Aeronautics and Space Administration Executive Internship.
You're an intern?
A senior intern. I'm here on behalf of the entire technology staff of the Apollo program to ensure scientific accuracy within this production. We've heard rumors.
That looks great, Ellie. Do you think you can give it a little bit more shine?
Yeah, no problem. What do you think about the blue so far?
It looks great. And it feels realistic. What kind of rumors?
Rumors of poor communication, professional incompetency, and a general lack of concern for safety. Not to mention a complete disregard for scheduling. You've had ample time to complete this, and so far you've been unable to deliver.
Look, kid. You seem like you have a good head on your shoulders, so I should only have to say this once. This is my production. I have everything under control. I don't need your input. So thanks, but no thanks.
Hey, boss man, come by off on this lighting so I can take an early lunch.
Take care of yourself.
You know what? You're right.
What?
This is your production, but you're over budget and running out of time. It might not look like you've had much control when I'm finished with my report. Do you understand me?
I get it, Mr. Myers.
Gorgeous or what?
Gorgeous. Can we lock it down?
Consider it done. I'll see you in an hour.
Sir, with all due respect, I'm very concerned with the safety of this setup.
I appreciate your concern and your respect, but I think it looks fine. And we're about done.
One more concern of mine, if you don't mind me saying it. It's just that-
No, go ahead.
Where are the stars?
Are we ready to shoot?
Good to go. Call it.
Places, everybody! All right, let's lock it down. We're going for picture. Roll camera.
Action. There's no way anybody's gonna believe this.
Once again, that was Shooting the Moon, directed by Lenny Lenox, Gary Blake, and Adam Dinihanian. Now, each show, we like to give our own thoughts from the popcorn gallery and offer our feedback about the stuff that we just showed you so you can have something to argue with us about later when we run into you on the street. So, John, what'd you think of Shooting the Moon?
I really liked Shooting the Moon. As you know, I'm kind of a closet conspiracy theorist.
Yes, you are.
So this is dealing with the subject matter that's kind of been, talked about for quite some time. Did they really land on the moon? There was this, obviously a rush to beat Russia, to beat the commies to get to the moon, and they say that we really didn't get there before them. They shot it on a closed soundstage. Yeah. What they really say now is that they actually did go up and they did do it, but the footage, they had some signal damage, so they reshot it. Whatever theory you go with, this film deals with it. And I thought it was such a great ability to take yourself into almost a historic conversation that's been going on for 30, 40 years now.
A lot of things about the film impressed me. I mean, one, it's shot beautifully. I mean, it looks really, really good, really highly professional. And they really took advantage of being that they're Full Sail students and they have to shoot on a soundstage anyway, they actually made a movie that incorporated the soundstage as part of the thing. So I mean, really thinking kind of outside of the box.
As you said, filming a film about filming a film is really, really a great way to go about
it.
it.
The performances are really solid in the movie. I mean, everything about it is really done. The production value is super high.
Sure.
And even for the Full Sail students who are working on their big projects, a lot of them still seem kind of fall flat for me in terms of what they do with their set design and construction. And these guys really blew it out of the box.
Sure. Well, great job, guys. To follow up with Lenny and the other filmmakers and see what projects they're working on, shoot them an email at lennylenox@hotmail.com. Now, when we come back from the break, we'll be talking with film festival guru Rich Grula, so stick around.
No.
Welcome back. Since on ICS we want to do more than just show fancy moving pictures to our audiences, on this episode's Industry Insights segment, we're very excited to have with us UCF professor and longtime member of the Florida Film Festival's selection committees, Rich Grula. Thanks for being here, Rich.
It's a pleasure.
Now, Rich, how were you first introduced to the world of independent film?
I'm sure I never even knew it was independent film when I ran into it. I went to NYU undergraduate, and just wandering around the village, the Greenwich Village where it was based, I would see films in bars being projected on brick walls, or I would see, or just go into, I just thought they were theaters. And I had nothing, there was no differentiation in my mind between seeing some odd thing in an obscure theater and seeing something I would have seen at the mall at home.
Okay.
It really wasn't until probably 5 or 6 years later that I started to understand that independent film came from a different place than commercial films. But really, and years later, I realized, oh wait, that was Richard Kern's films I was seeing on the bar room wall with Lydia Lunch and Lisa B and stuff. Literally 10 or 20 years later till I really realized what I was watching at that time.
Wow.
We just thought, oh, we're at a bar, they're showing pictures on the wall, why is that?
Well, tell me a little bit about how your background started with the Florida Film Festival.
I was a film critic for several years, and I wrote for many weeklies when I was living in Berkeley, California. I wrote for the Daily Californian, and I wrote for, when I went back to New York, for Interview Magazine and a couple other places. And then when I moved down to Orlando, I was writing for the Weekly, the Orlando Weekly, and I started, I think it was because Mike Manello, who was one of the guys in the Blair Witch Project, right? He was the marketing director of Enzion, and at one point he told me, he said, your reviews are the best predictors of how big our audiences are going to be. He said, you actually have when you give a 2-star review, that's the audience we actually get, and when you get a 5-star review, that's the audience we actually get.
To vet them through you from then.
Well, they never did that, but I think he just sort of felt a kinship with what I was writing, I guess.
Yeah.
And so he invited me to be on the selections committee the first time. And that was in 97, I think it was, 1997. And so I've been doing it ever since. And I became, after Mike left Enzion, I took over his job as marketing director.
Okay.
So I was marketing director of Enzion for 98 and 99. And then so basically since 97, I've been on the selections committee. I think it's 15 years.
Wow.
that I've been doing
a lot of films. Well,
continuously.
How is viewing, being a critic, and then on the selection committees for all those years changed your appreciation of film or the independent film genre?
Well, one of the things that was unusual is, and I never thought about this until it started happening, is when you go to a theater and see a film, or you go to a festival and see the film, they've been vetted extensively.
Sure.
Yeah.
You're really, even if you watch something and you say, my God, this stinks, somebody liked it to put it there.
Yeah.
There was some reason why it's playing. When you're on the selections committee, there's no vetting. The vetting is a postage stamp, and somebody wants you to see their film.
Yeah.
And so I guess I was exposed to an amazing number of, you see how many bad versions there are of everything.
Yeah.
There's not just, you pick one film that you like, but there are 7 below them that are varying versions of bad, or maybe just not as good, or they didn't appeal to you in one way or another. So I think it dawned on me the quantity of films being made, which it hadn't dawned on me previously. And then it dawned on me at how many people are actually making films based on what they see.
Sure.
And they're just trying to make X kind of film. Like they said, oh, a horror film seems popular, so I'll try to make one of those. And they don't really have the passion for it or this. And you really start to perceive the passion of the filmmakers differently when you see a quantity of them. Because the passion, it's like music. You know, passionate music stands out.
Yeah.
You know, you could hear 10 bands play the exact same song, but there's somebody who really believes it. And there's 9 guys who are trying to get a check or a free beer or something. I don't know.
Sure.
So
That bodes well with me.
yeah, well, you know, and maybe that's not a bad thing. You know, there's
pay us
reasons for free
somehow,
beer.
you
You
know,
know, I don't know.
You get free beer at the film festival too. So
And that's a reason to go.
exactly. Well, you know, you kind of touched on that, and I know this is really kind of a subjective question, but I mean, what do you as a selection committee member look for or key in for when you know,
that's
picking?
such a hard question
Yeah.
because it literally you'll sit in a room with X number of selections committee people. I mean, the way we do it at the Florida Film Festival is there are 3 of us on each committee, and then there's usually a festival person, you know, a festival representative on the. So really, there's 4-ish people in the room, and you will watch something, and you're all watching the exact same film.
Yeah.
And one of you might say, "This is amazing," and the other 2 are like, "What? That's terrible." You know.
Yeah, that happens to me all the time.
Right. So it's interesting when there's occasionally an absolute, we all love this.
Yeah.
This is brilliant. You know, we must play this. It often is divided. And so it comes down to, you're looking for something that speaks to you. You're looking for something that has some sort of spark of originality or creativity to it. And it doesn't have to be groundbreaking. Sometimes it's just, it tries to do something and it achieves 150% of what it tried to do. Sometimes modest ambitions done incredibly well is better than I tried to make a World War II epic and it was awful. You know, you don't have to be super ambitious there.
I mean, I think that definitely comes to play in the festival circuit when most people are working with lesser to no money.
Sure.
Right, and I think independent film plays that way, that it works better with more personal subjects. It works better. Small works better in independent film than big a lot of times. You know, there's rarely big independent films. They tend to be, if you're going to do World War II, you tend to focus on a foxhole with 2 people and then make the war sort of be in the background rather than, try to do battle sequences.
As filmmakers are submitting to the festivals and getting their movies out there, I mean, do you have any specific kind of recommendations?
And what's a common mistake you see?
Yeah, that's a good.
Well, there's a lot of filmmaking mistakes, but I'll tell you one mistake which I try to warn my students about first is don't think you've got this pile of gold. I see filmmakers a lot of times that they make their films and everybody's helping them and then they sort of disappear for a while and you say, hey, can I see the film or do you want to, well, I've sent it to Sundance, I'm going to see what they're going to say. It's kind of like you've got no feedback from anybody who you trust.
Yeah.
Your friends who are in the film world locally, and they just kind of they put all their bet on this one ticket to Sundance. Or I'm going to send it to Telluride or wherever. And then let's face it, Sundance and Slamdance gets a gazillion films. It gets ignored, or they just get a form rejection letter, and they're crushed. Then they don't even want to show the film to anybody because they figured, well, Sundance rejected, it's not good.
Yeah, I talk to people all the time about Sundance, and I try to tell them that Sundance releases their statistics, it's like 9,000 short films for 20 slots. Right. I mean, of course you got rejected by Sundance. Everyone got rejected by Sundance.
But the thing that's, I think, bad for the filmmaker is one of the, I believe really strongly about like a filmmaker's vision. Like I think one person is behind a film. Sure. But I really think it's important to play it for a lot of people and polish it from there. Because there are things, you get like a dog chasing his tail, eventually you can't see the film anymore.
Exactly.
You think you've got it all right, but then you play it for, I'm going to play it for you, John, and you're like, who is that character there? What are they doing? I totally missed that. And the filmmaker, what do you mean? How did you miss that?
I think we've all fallen victim to that.
And one of the things,
you know your story.
Right. And you know the parts you cut out.
Exactly.
And the guy watching
you know
it doesn't
how you made the leap. You got there.
You go like, well, I took this out because that acting stunk, but I know he started here and he went there, so I'm fine with that. But other people don't. And one of the things I always stress in my class is, you have to show these films to people. You have to show them to people who you don't know.
Yeah.
Because that's when you start getting an honest criticism. I mean, let's face it, when you show it to your friends, most of them are going to be kind. It's a rare friend who's going to pull you aside and go, that was a disaster. I mean, I know you've spent 6 months and thousands of dollars on this, and I'm not saying this personally to you, but that film was a train wreck. They're very rarely going to say that.
Once again, thanks for being here, Rich.
Absolutely.
A wealth of knowledge, to say the least. To keep in touch with Rich, you can email him at rgrula@mail.ucf.edu.
As Rich heads back to his classroom, we're going to take a look at this episode's feature. This feature trailer is brought to us by director Jeffrey Moore, and it's called Mr. Healthy's Happy Land. Hope you enjoy.
I can't wait to see you again. Every day I'm dreaming of you, thinking of you, wishing love could be between us two. Maybe we could spend some time, have some coffee, share our minds. If loving you is a crime, lock me up.
Hey kids, I'm Mr. Healthy, and welcome to Mr. Healthy's Happy Land!
Since we're not just here to listen to ourselves talk, we're going to try to impart some wisdom with our fun facts segment presented by GreenRoomOrlando.com.
These facts have been sent in to us from the magical world of the internet. This episode's question's from Matt. Dear ICS, I just got my latest short film into a bunch of regional film festivals around the state, but I've noticed that when I attend the festivals, it's really hard to get people to come to my screening with all the other cool stuff that's going on. So do you have any suggestions for how to raise exposure and attendance while I'm at the festival? John?
Well, what was his name? Matt?
Matt.
Well, Matt, that's something that we all deal with. I think that there's a misconception that, you've finally gotten into the film festival, you're getting that validation you're looking for. You go to the festival and you and your producer just show up to the screening and expect it to be a full house. You have to realize that there's many other things going on at a film festival and that you need to market yourself almost just as heavy at the festival as trying to get into a festival. What I would suggest is bringing, some people, either if you have a film with costumes or something to that respect, bring some costume characters around. If you have a beautiful leading lady, bring her around and get them out there passing out postcards, passing out little, if you go to a festival like South by Southwest, there's so many people all jockeying for position and jockeying to get some advertising and marketing for their film. It's kind of the guy who comes up with the witty little thing. If you come up with a lollipop with your name on it, and then your film's called Lollipop Blues or something.
That's right.
It's the same. I would take it the same approach as a musician would take at a music festival. You got to get butts in seats, and you got to try to get people there. So the more cards you can have, or advertisements, or whatever it is, in people's hands, and the more you can create a buzz for that weekend at the film festival, the better you're probably going to do.
You've got to be out there, Matt, and you've got to be talking to the people. You've got to push your product. Remember that you're now a salesman. You've made a movie. You're done being a film director. You're not a film director anymore. Now you're a salesman. And I've been to a lot of film festivals and a lot of major film festivals, and like John mentioned, South by Southwest, you're not competing against the party that's going on. You're competing against 3 parties that are going on and 12 other screenings that are happening at the exact same time. I've been almost drug into theaters by publicists for films. In fact, I actually ended up seeing a fantastic documentary because I told the publicist, she said, do you want to come see the movie? And I said, no, I'm only here to cover horror films, because at the time I was working for a horror film site. And she said, this is a horror film about race relations in America. I will save you a seat in the middle of the theater. And I went in and watched the movie, and it was fantastic.
Wow.
That's how you do it. You've got to go out there and market it. Market. So anyway, Matt, we really appreciate it. If you want to be part of our Fun Facts segment, you can submit your questions by visiting the ICS link on greenroomorlando.com. If you ask us a question we can't answer, dude, we'll look it up for you. Now it's time for my favorite segment of the show, Films to See Before You Die.
Are you looking for something a bit off the beaten track to check out late at night? Well, each episode, Tim and I pick a couple DVDs that might have slipped past your radar, but films that we think you absolutely need to feast your eyes on. So, Tim, what's the DVD pick of this episode?
I'm really psyched about my DVD pick this week because not only did it slip past your radar, you don't own the radar on this one. The film is called The Whole Shooting Match, and it was shot in 1978 by a Texas filmmaker named Eagle Pennell.
Okay.
Now, this film was one of the 6 finalists selected for the inaugural U.S. Film Festival in Salt Lake City. That festival was run by Robert Redford's business partner, and Redford saw this movie and a few years later specifically cited it as his reason to create the Sundance Institute to foster local regional filmmakers.
Sure.
And about 5 or 6 years after that, the USA Film Festival uprooted itself to Park City, Utah, and changed its name to Sundance.
Sure.
So this is sort of what I would consider to be one of the ultimate American independent films, and really an amazing movie, and a really great example of regional filmmaking, something that in our global society has kind of died out, which is personal stories about people in a very certain place in a very certain time.
Sure.
And we've lost a lot of that.
Well, my DVD pick to see before you die is a film called Boxers and Ballerinas. I bring this out because actually when I worked for the Florida Film Festival in 2004 or 6 or something like that, this movie played, and this is when it first got on my radar, directed by Mike Cahill and Britt Marling. And the great thing about this, especially living in Florida, it's about 2 Cubans juxtaposed with 2 Cuban Americans. And it's just that. It's 1 Cuban boxer and 1 Cuban American boxer and 1 Cuban ballerina and 1 Cuban American.
Yeah.
And it actually shows really the plight of both of them, you know, and their situation of them either living in Cuba and the problems of them having to go still under, you know, communist control, and, you know, that kind of the plight they have to deal with there. Being very famous, boxers and ballerinas are treated almost like celebrities in Cuba, but they still have to carpool to where they're going because the money and the things are very
they
limited.
don't have a car
But from the Cuban American side, you know, we're talking about people down in Miami that are Cubans that are making a living for themselves, and they're getting a much different kind of living that American dream. So it's really kind of cool to see both scenarios in both different countries and to see the difference of the situations they have to deal with. So Boxers and Ballerinas is my film festival DVD pick you need to see before you die. Well, that's all, folks. We want to thank all of you out there in TV land for joining us. We also want to thank Rich Grula for dropping by and sharing his insights. As well, a big thanks to our segment sponsors.
We hope you learned something new, saw something you loved, or got inspired to get off your own couch and make your own movie. Maybe it'll be good enough for us to show on the next Indie Cinema Showcase.
But until then, as always, we say to you current and upcoming filmmakers, peace, love, and positive reviews. Until next time.